Hello everyone, this is the Numbers Guy Show and I am your host Ron Stoffel. And tonight we have a special guest of mine. I've known this guest for probably about 14 years or so. So we're going to be talking about an organization that he is a co-founder of, and his name is Jack Rogers, and he is with the Minnesota Tea Party Alliance. So Jack, welcome and thanks for coming in.
We've known each other 14 years?
4 years. Did I say 14?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yes.
That's a Freudian slip.
That is.
And I had trouble with Freud, so yeah, 4 years. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you caught that. People would really think that I was crazy. Well, they'll know I'm crazy anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4 years. I think it was about 2010
Yep.
that we met. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on.
Well, I appreciate it. I think
here.
we're going to have a good show here. And it's a little bit of a cliffhanger. Jack is going to join us for a second one that's going to be about politics coming up with the primaries. So stay tuned for that also. So Jack, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to our audience, and then we'll get into specifically more on the Tea Party.
Okay. For those of you who don't know me, I'm from down south originally, and I've really covered that accent well over the years.
You have?
Southern Minnesota.
Yeah.
Did I mention that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Yeah, so it's southern. That's a joke, Ron.
Okay.
Anyway, I grew up in a small town. I was born in Austin, Minnesota, and my father was an entrepreneur, a successful one, with a new home, another home, a property, and two DX gas stations at the time, and a thriving new business, and he was killed. You learn about life in different ways, even when you're tiny. I was 5 years old, and I remember going into the courthouses and sitting on I remember a fine hardwood bench for hours while my mother was inside going through the probate process back then, which left her with nothing. As a result of that, I learned different life lessons at different times. But my mother picked us up, moved us from Austin over to Worthington. Even though we had nothing, I never knew it. I never went to bed hungry, Ron. And she gave me a great example to live by because of her faith and family values. And she went from being a very comfortable suburban lady into being a lady that was working for very little as a cook in a nursing home with no transportation. And she walked about 16, 17 blocks, if I remember right, each way to work each day. And they did 12-hour shifts. So she had dedication, but she always had time. We were always at church. She always had us doing the right things and doing fun things. But I remember that she had been saving money, and she started a daycare business, and she became an entrepreneur, and that was her freedom. My sister, who was older than myself, and myself pitched in, and it gave us a whole new different look at life. And I think that's where becoming an entrepreneur and being free and watching it actually take place. Because my mother refused charity from the church or from anybody, including she wouldn't take any government programs. She says there's people that need it more in the world than I do. And she was pretty firm on that. And I remember several times in the daycare business when somebody wouldn't pay her, I said, "Mom, they owe you money, aren't you going to do something?" And she would say, "No, we're not. Obviously, they need that money more than us. God will take care of us." And so it's life lessons like that put a foundation together for you to live a certain way. But at 19, I left town, came to Minneapolis. I got married shortly thereafter. In fact, yesterday was my 45th year anniversary. My wife had a year left in high school, and I was just out of high school. And she finished her high school up here in Minneapolis, and we've been married ever since. I have 2 children, and I have 6 grandchildren. Each child has 3. My youngest daughter survived leukemia, so we know what it's like to work with the medical facilities and so on, and lose everything you have and start over, basically. And then I found a great company. I'd worked for Crane Supply Company. I left there, went to Franklin Life Insurance Company, built an agency with a friend of mine, and then left that. I didn't like dealing with death claims, and because I knew the people and their families and so on, and didn't like that. But I went to work for a company, Copper Sales, and became part of that team after many years, became part of the partnership. And I was there for 25 years, and we sold the company to Firestone, moved on. I stayed the required period of time after the sale, and then I served my non-compete. After that time, I quietly started building a little consulting agency in architectural metals. But in that time I was off, I started going through the qualifications to become a lay speaker for the church. And then I went farther and became certified, and then I started preaching. And from that time on, I've preached, well, now it's been at least 3 or 4 times a month as a lay pastor, lay speaker. The difference between laity and ordained is education and money. Let me tell you that right now. You have to get the education to be ordained, and once you're ordained, you get the money. I do it because of my love.
So that's like semi-professional? Is that?
It's like being in the minor leagues.
Yeah, okay.
But I absolutely love the congregation. Even though I'm a Protestant, I preach in a Catholic facility to the Protestant residents there, and that's St. Therese. I preach at Champlain Shore, and occasionally I go to the Anoka home up north.
Okay.
And then I'll be called in sometimes at our own church, which is a great honor to speak to our own congregation, maybe once, maybe sometimes twice a year, depending on this situation. So that's my true love of being and sharing the Word of God. But also, I really have a good friend by the name of Dwight McCullough, who after the 2008 elections, I looked him in the face and I said, never again. I can't do this anymore. I cannot go to a poll, be given a choice between 2 unprincipled people, and have to make that choice. And I said, I'm out of here. And he says, I don't know what your name is, but let me tell you a story. But he says, before I tell you the story, pull up your big boy pants and start working. And I'm going, who is this? Who is this guy? But I listened to him, and so I got involved in the BPOU. And at the time it was SD 49. Harlan Wyvell, a man of wisdom and courage, was leading that BPOU, and I just paid attention. Mandy Benz was active there and very helpful, telling us, no, this isn't what you do, Jack, or pay attention to this part. And she was an active leader in that BPOU. And so I listened, paid attention, marched in parades, went down to the Capitol, asked questions, and then, lo and behold, I'm very comfortable, feeling very, very comfortable that I'm just getting a handle on this, and I get involved a little too heavy. We have an incumbent senator from SD 49 that came in and started getting pretty rough. In fact, they were getting rough on Mandy and one other person about not having the same records. And finally, I lost my politeness. I stood up and I said, you just lost the election. We're going to find anybody we can to run against you because we don't want those kind of actions in this Senate district. So we nominated Michelle Benson, thus Michelle Benson. And that's some of the behind the scenes. But Mandy Benz had worked her tail off to get all of the names of all the delegates and everything done. It's a big task. And they weren't typed, but she'd photocopied every one of them, and this other person had accused her of giving other people type list and other people better list, and she said, no, everybody got the same list. But
no favorites.
Yeah, there were no favorites, but the payoff for me was to see that when you actually stand up against some things that are wrong, that are not proper, you can make a difference. You don't have to have a majority to make a difference sometimes. You just have to have people with a burning desire that are not going to give up to light those brush fires, and it stayed with me. But lo and behold, what did they do? They redistrict all of the Senate districts. And here, being new at the game, even though I'm old, you got a brand new Senate district, and I don't know most of the people. They cut it up pretty well. And their intentions were, when they're dividing this up, is to put 2 very conservative senators in the same district, so it would give the appearance that they were trying to be fair, but actually they were cutting down the number of conservative senators in the Senate. And I saw that take place. Well, I ran for chair, naive, thinking, well, I'll just call Harlan and ask for help if I need something. And I got elected, but I just need to tell you all the truth. You get elected as chair of a BPOU because nobody else wants the job.
You found that out the hard way, huh?
I found it out by serving. But I did say one thing. I'd only run one term because I don't believe in careers at the grassroots level. And I was true to my word. I encouraged other people on our executive board or others in our BPOU to run. And Dan Dano, I'm proud to say, is our BPOU chair. And he, to this day, says I fixed it because of the pain and the hardship he's going through. And it made him wear a tie because we have a standard there that if you're the chair, you need to be wearing a tie when you do the meetings. But what I didn't know when I got elected is that I was going to have to deal with a convention where we had to elect one of the two good senators. That was a real wake-up call. Mm-hmm. We had a wonderful a convention. It went well. People maintained a decorum about them. They understood what was at stake, that no matter who we picked, it was going to be okay. There were some feelings hurt along the way, and some people called out for saying things from time to time. But it proved to be okay because Senate District 31 is now a strong, vibrant group of individuals, and they really respect the strength that they've earned, and they are continuing to build that strength by working in SD 31 and with other Senate districts to build those values and those choices and so on that many times are not there. I actually ran into something that I didn't think I'd ever run into, but when I was the chair of the chairs, I started out with this green idea that I'm going to visit every BPOU and et cetera in the whole state. But I found out they don't necessarily want you, and they don't necessarily meet. So I started out, and I was over in St. Paul at my one of the first ones I went to, and they didn't have enough for a quorum for the convention. So I got on the phone and did phone calls with them. And I made great friends there and earned respect there. And that happened at another one, and I was at a few more. But sometimes I'd drive for 2 or 3 hours to a BPOU, and there was nobody there. And then I'd ask or call, and they said, well, we decided not to have one. And so it kind of disappointed me, and so I kind of put out a message that anybody that would like me to come and help them, I'm available, but now it's up to you to call and contact me.
Respect of your time.
Yes, and I was ramping up my time in the Tea Party because I started out kind of quiet, just attending, trying to see what was going on, thinking, boy, I thought we were going to have a better candidates and do things better, and again, being naive and not understanding the great power of the money and the 5 or 6 big money players in politics.